Fire hydrant pulses. This is something I see a lot on the old Instagram when the booty builders are posting interesting booty workouts. Something I probably wouldn't include. We've actually got a new name on the channel today, which is very exciting. We're looking at a content creator who goes by the name of Eylem. I believe I may have butchered that, and if I have, please forgive me. And we're looking at their 12-minute summer body workout, floor only, get a sexy toned body fast. Something that I would very much like to achieve, I'm sure. Actually, I quite like the description here. Every body shape is a summer body, no question. We are beautiful the way we are. This workout is just a routine to make you feel more comfortable, more confident, and strong. Before we crack on with it, I must very much prepare for the heat that I'm about to bring by protecting my head. Obviously, this was made for kids, so it doesn't fit on my oversized head and potentially larger than average forehead. If at any point throughout this entire video you like the video, then please let me know you like the video by liking the video, and maybe even by tickling the button down below to subscribe to the channel, and perhaps even clicking the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. But if you don't want to do either of those things, dislike the video and leave me a nasty comment. Lying bicycle. Again, very common with a lot of the workouts I do see is a lot of these movements, I've kind of mentioned this in a few workouts before. What are the abs really doing here, apart from maintaining some contraction through the elevation of the upper back here? This is really going to be a hip flexor movement because the legs are moving and not the abs, remember that. A marching crunch is going to be a bit more relevant here because, again, we are reducing the distance between the sternum and the pelvis, which then means the abs are doing something because this is their essentially active range of motion. This is what they do, or one of their primary functions is, like I said, reduce the distance between the sternum and the pelvis, or the pelvis and the sternum. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Therefore, I respect it. She's obviously going side to side, which again, I don't think is inherently bad. It's just a bit different if you want to do something a bit different. Do you need to? No, but you certainly can. The Train Like Me, Train Heroic group coaching program, in which you can essentially follow the program that I am currently following, and we can follow it together, has just gone live on the Train Heroic app or website, which can be found by clicking the link down below in the description, or maybe in the comment section too. Just know that you'll be following the exact program that I am currently following for as long as I am following it. And when I change things, I'll change it for you as well. So literally my training will be your training too, which is very exciting. And it's also likely going to cost less than your Netflix subscription. See, the crunch here at the moment, the crunch is kind of lacking. I would definitely crunch up a lot higher. We're not really reducing the distance sufficiently. I feel like this range of motion is not adequate and not acceptable, I would say, for really maximizing the recruitment of the abdominal muscles here. I know people are going to speak about obviously the transverse abdominis and things like that. I get that, I understand that, but we're largely talking about the kind of role of the rectus abdominis, which is typically deemed to be the six-pack muscle, which is kind of what's being implied here and is very much kind of the focus of this conversation. Cross crunch, again, it's like a bicycle crunch, but she's minimizing how much the upper body's actually moving. If you are going to do a cross crunch like this, someone actually asked this for Common Question of the Week once, which I haven't got around to. Essentially, what you want to do to make this more effective is maximize how much the upper body is moving and minimize how much the lower body is moving. That means you're maximizing abdominal recruitment and minimizing hip flexor recruitment. Again, similar sort of situation here, which is a little bit disappointing, is that there is not a mass amount of abdominal movement here. Again, there is a bit of a crunch, but to really bring the abs into it, we should really crunch more, to be honest. Again, I get that the hip flexors are going to be a part of the body that she is looking to work, considering this kind of implies like a full body workout. But again, it seems like a lot of focus is being shifted to the hip flexors here, whilst kind of neglecting the abdominal region, when in reality most of the emphasis should be around the abdominal region and actually kind of shift a bit further away from the hip flexors, in my opinion, that is. I mean, the glute bridge is a great movement, I fully respect it. The arm movement here, I don't know what it's trying to achieve. I know you're going to get some like delt burning maybe from just lifting the arms up against gravity, but it is very much limited. Like, what are you trying to achieve? This is less of an arm movement. This is going to be more of a delt movement for this part of things. But obviously the glute bridge as a standalone movement, I think is fantastic, and it should kind of just be done as is. If you want to make it harder, do it single leg, but beyond that, don't make a good movement not so good. Like the hip twist, I don't really know what's going on here. Like, I'm not really sure what's occurring, because you're getting the glutes involved to an extent because you're lifting, but you're not fully shortening them. Maybe you're looking at some obliques due to that kind of twisting rotation, but again, probably not how I'd look to work them as well. A glute bridge hold is very much just going to be holding the shortened position of the glutes. You can certainly do so if you wish, but I'd almost rather go through a range of motion, do a standard glute bridge, hold at each rep, and then perform the next rep. Fire hydrant pulses. This is something I see a lot on the old Instagram when the booty builders are posting interesting booty workouts, something I probably wouldn't include. Genuinely, I don't think you need to do things like this. It may burn a lot because you're holding tension for a significant period of time around the contraction point. Beyond that, it's not going to be massively effective. Glute bridges are going to do a much better job. Again, the same sort of thing with the leg hold. You're kind of holding this contracted position of the glutes. Therefore, you're going to get a lot of burning because you're maintaining a contraction for a period of time, as if you would literally to tense your biceps and hold that contraction for a significant period of time. After 15, 20, 30 seconds, it's really going to burn. You're going to find it harder to hold. Doesn't mean it's doing a lot. You see, you're just merely holding a contraction rather than going through an active range of motion, which is kind of what you want to prioritize, especially when you're looking at developing your body from any kind of muscular standpoint. I think the side plank's fantastic. Genuinely one of my favorite plank variations, I would say. I think ultimately you're looking at very much like the obliques from like a anti-rotational perspective, which is really good and really overlooked when it comes to training and also when it comes to injury prevention as well. But it's really interesting that she does kind of all of one side first from like a combination of different movements before then moving over to the other side afterwards. And I actually kind of like it. Genuinely, I kind of back it because again, I'm a big fan of resting between sides as if they were like individual sets, but obviously tracking them as one. Doing all of one side first, then doing all of the next side later, I kind of back it to an extent because you're actually having, although you're not really resting because you're doing other movements, you're at least resting between sides per movement. So between like the side plank and then the other side, you're going to be resting for a period. Donkey cross kick, again, very much like the fire hydrant pulses. It's a movement that is probably going to burn a lot. It's a movement that is very much popular on the Instagram and has been popular for as long as I can remember. I mean, genuinely years, but it's probably not going to be massively effective. Although it is a floor only workout, I would definitely recommend including some weights if you can, even ankle weights or some kind of additional resistance to help you push this a little bit further and a little bit harder to help get the results beyond just here and take them a bit further. If you're kind of new to training and new to kind of fitness in general, any activity is going to likely yield a result, which is fantastic. But if you, like I said, if you want to get your results from here to here, you probably want to do something that pushes it further by implementing progressive overload to an extent through additional reps or additional resistance and making sure you're training to, if not close to failure. Regardless of what you're trying to achieve, when it comes to building muscle for any reason, that's really what you should be focusing on. I've kind of spoken about the mountain climber recently, where I kind of basically stated it's far less effective for the abs than many people might think, as it was often marketed as a ab movement, when in reality the abs aren't really doing a lot other than kind of stabilizing and helping maintain this position. The thing that's going through the most range of motion here is going to be the hip flexors. Again, very common theme of most of these videos, unfortunately. She's actually kind of thought about exercise sequencing here, because she's gone from doing like a mountain climber where you're maintaining a bit of a plank position to a plank squat, followed then by a plank, in which case, because you're holding that kind of similar plank position for so long, you're really going to experience quite a lot of fatigue, because again, you've been holding this sort of position through like an abdominal stability perspective, like strengthening perspective, for so long, the core is going to get quite tired after having done a lot through different movements. So from that kind of side of things, I kind of get it. It's almost like quite smart to think about it like that, but it does also lead to the illusion in many cases that what you're doing is more effective, because by the time you get to the plank or whatever, you're thinking, wow, my abs and my core are absolutely battered and ruined. This must have been an amazing workout, when in reality they probably feel that way because you've actually done a lot of similar movements back to back that target similar muscles. I think the way I kind of word things like this and the way I'd always approach things is what you're doing help you achieve results? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then do you need to change it? Probably not. If the answer is no, then something probably needs to change. If you are doing these workouts and you're enjoying them, you can remain consistent with them, and it's helping you achieve what you want to achieve, then I fully support it. If you want to maybe achieve your results a bit faster, you can certainly change it, and that would very much be adding in some resistance, I would say, so you can progressively overload, train a bit closer, if not to failure, and that's going to make a massive difference. If you don't want to change anything, then ultimately you don't need to. I'm not here to tell you to do this or do this. I'm simply giving you some guidance saying, although you can certainly do this, maybe this is better. That's partly why we released the home workout handbook, which is obviously a home workout training guide, which caters for people with no equipment, so just their body weight, some equipment like dumbbells, and maybe more equipment like a TRX and stuff as well. So it kind of caters for people with differing levels of equipment, but also caters for people who are wishing to do home workouts, but actually want a home workout that's potentially more effective because it actually follows the fundamental principles of hypertrophy, strength training, and resistance training. And that's essentially why we created the home workout handbook. But although workouts like this might be helping you achieve what you want to achieve, it was almost a means of offering something that that might actually help you achieve it a little bit faster, and also teach you something along the way that you can apply to all of your training going forward. It's a new name, it's an interesting name. I don't know enough about this content creator to really give an opinion, but obviously first impressions, it is very similar to a lot of the other home workouts I have seen. Obviously I have like personal preferences of like my preferred home workout creators, which I've obviously expressed many times on the channel, but at the end of the day, like I said, if you enjoy this person's workout, they get you moving and you can remain consistent, then who am I to say don't do it? Comment question of the week, this one, a bit more of a personal one. If you reached your goal, hit the finish line and decided to stop working out, what would you do instead? What activity do you consider trying but don't because of time constraints? Probably get back into martial arts to an extent. Like I said, I did MMA for a few years, so I'd probably take that up again, or maybe go over to boxing or something similar, because I did quite enjoy the MMA side of things. I might want to try something a bit different. Maybe one day I would like to get into it again in the future, but not anytime soon. Good question. I like that. That's nice. That's nice. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating, once again, a headpiece that is way too small for my head, and thank you for tolerating the video.